Do you want to capture great photographs? Then today we are going to learn how to capture great photographs using any camera. However, as a professional photographer, you will need to get the right camera that
Photographer?
has what it takes to capture the right images. So capturing a great photograph involves a combination of technical skills, artistic vision, and creativity. And here are some tips to help you take better photographs. So today we are going to look at least 10 tips that can help you
Hey,
to capture a great photograph. Number one, you need to know your tools or your gear, what you're using to capture that image. And here we're talking about the camera. And depending on the camera that you're using, the price will vary, and also the outcome that that camera will give you will also vary. We have the point and shoot type of cameras that are likely not to give you very professional uh, looking images. But we have other cameras that have adjustable uh, knobs or adjustable uh, parts that will help you to capture the right image. So today we are just going to focus on capturing great photographs. But in our next presentation, we will focus more on parts of those cameras that you can use. So camera setting is very important. You need to know how to adjust your aperture, adjust your shutter speed, and ISO or ISO, and the shooting modes. Remember, you can put your camera on manual or on automatic mode, such that on manual is when you have that ability to manipulate your camera, but on automatic is when the camera now reads for you and captures based on what it's reading. So number two, you need to know how to create a composition. Paying attention to the composition of your shot are very important. There's a video that I've produced on composition whereby you can focus on rule of thirds, leading lines, framing, symmetry, and many other elements and principles of composition. Then we have lighting. Lighting is very important in photography because we are able to see whatever we see because of the reflection that bounces off from the subject through the lens, and then it is processed to create an image. Without light, there will be no photography because it's lighting that is crucial in photography. So we are told that the best time to shoot is what is referred to as the golden hour. The golden hour is hours like during sunrise or some hours before sunset, when the light is soft and warm. So we should always avoid harsh midday sunlight, which can create very strong shadows. And the other thing that you need to focus on when you're capturing a great photograph is you need to work on your focusing. Of course, with professional cameras, you'll find a lens which has a focusing knob, and it's through that you can also be able to create what we call depth of field. This makes sure that your subject is in focus, and also consider using a shallow depth of field sometimes to isolate the subject from the background, and especially in portraits or macro photography. Then patience and timing is another way that you can use to capture a great photograph. So sometimes capturing the perfect moments requires patience. So you have to be there, time, and get the right uh, exposure. Because if you're not ready and in a waiting mode, you might do things in a hurry and then end up producing something that will not be appealing to your audience. So be ready to wait for the right moment or anticipate the action to get that decisive moment. For example, in sports. Then also using perspective can bring out a very wonderful uh, photograph. Perspective is all about distance and space. So experimenting with different angles, like getting down to shoot or shooting from above or trying unconventional viewpoints can also add interest to your photographs. Uh, you can use perspective especially when you're applying the principle of use of lines, because we have real lines and we have implied lines. So most of the time in perspective, you'll discover that items disappear in the horizon. If you're capturing a seascape, you'll find that the sea goes all the way until it reaches the horizon line where it looks like the sea is touching the sky. If you're capturing a road, you'll see the road going until it disappears to the vanishing point. So perspective creates very interesting compositions as well, especially in landscape photography. And also keep it simple. Avoid cluttering backgrounds and unnecessary elements that can distract from the main subject. Simplicity is key in photography because you want to bring out this key subject. And when you put a lot of clutter around the subject, then you end up not projecting it well, and people will lose your story or your composition. Then also tell a story, and especially for photojournalists. Photojournalists take images in order to convey news story, be it in broadcast or in print media or on web or internet. So they tell stories through their images. Could be in motion or it could be still photography. So think about what you want to express or communicate to your viewers. What kind of stories do you want them to get from your photographs? And then it is also very important to know the post-processing methods. That once you have captured your image, how are you going to edit or enhance your photos significantly? So use photo editing software to adjust exposure, to adjust its contrast, to play around with color balance, cropping, and please be careful not to overdo it. Sometimes we over edit and then we lose the initial imagery. So make sure to retouch where it's necessary. And sometimes you don't need even to retouch if the image is well captured. And then lastly, practice, practice, practice. Without practicing, you cannot make it in photography. They say practice makes perfect. So photography being an art, it improves with practice. All art forms improves with practice. A painter will improve by practicing more. So take as many photos as you can. Experiment with different techniques and learn from both your successes and mistakes. Also learn from others and, visit exhibitions, see what others are displaying in the exhibitions, and you will succeed in your photography. There are many other ways of creating great photos, but today these 10 are sufficient for our lesson.